Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We're back today for Roots and Resilience, the bite-sized session. So, as Mandie and I are filming this episode, we are the 6th of July, and many of us will be counting down the last however many days, 8 days, 9 days, maybe 10 days, to the summer holidays. Cliff Richard was a little bit enthusiastic when he sang "We're All Going on a Summer Holiday," wasn't he? And I think that's maybe a little bit scary, a little bit anxiety driven for us as therapeutic parents to think about the summer holidays, which is why Mandie and I decided that we'd do a bite size with our top 5 tips and hints and ways to hopefully help you manage that as we start to lean in to those last couple of weeks. Mandie, how are you feeling at this stage?
First of all, I thought you were going to burst into song then for a moment. I was preparing myself, ready for it. I am not going to lie. I have 10 days, and this morning has started with the most disruptive week we have going on. My children are having 2 school trips in a week, so anxiety levels are
Mhm.
through the roof, which has impacted me a little bit. So I'm a little bit discombobulated this morning, I think is
Mhm.
the best way of putting it. But yes, the summer holidays are definitely racing towards us. And it is such an overwhelming time of year for parents that um, thought of I've got 7 weeks with my
Mm.
beautiful little darlings, but 7 weeks with your children with um, no real strong routine and structure and having to be number one children's entertainer is really daunting, especially if you're a working parent as well. So you've
Mm.
got the logistics of planning, organizing, getting everything arranged so that you can do your work. Your children might be going to holiday clubs, they might be going out with friends, they might have different activities going on, and you're trying to be the puppet master, organizing everything and getting everything sorted out. And it
Mhm.
is really, really overwhelming.
Yeah.
So when we
Yeah.
spoke about this a little while ago, we have both been in this situation before. And that's why we wanted to put our top 5 tips together.
Mhm. Mhm. I've just thought it was brilliant, Mandie, when you said we're not racing towards the summer holidays; they're racing towards us. I think just
Yes.
the key language there about that they're coming for us. These weeks off, they're actually coming for us, and I think I'm sure there's lots of other people that picked up on the way you described that. So yeah, I think the timing of this episode is really important for people.
So, yeah, what I think I want to achieve out of this little session is really about letting people know that it's okay to feel a bit wobbly and a little bit
Mhm.
overwhelmed right now.
Mhm.
And it's okay to feel a little bit, not frightened, that's not the right word, but feeling a little bit daunted about having those weeks ahead
Mhm.
of how are you going to get done what you need to get done. So hopefully today we're going to be able to shed a little bit of light and help people out with that.
Definitely, definitely. And I guess the other bit that I would maybe uh, consider at that point as
Yeah.
well is, there'll be lots of other parents that our listeners will know who have, securely attached and or neurotypical children, that they will probably be feeling quite excited about the summer holidays. There are some parents that just absolutely buzz about having that X amount of weeks off with their children, the plans that they have, the memories they will make, and being hashtag so blessed all over Instagram. And that's lovely for them. We don't want to take that away from them, but it's really important that our listeners, our parents, our carers are not comparing themselves to that. And, maybe consider coming off of socials for the next few weeks, or certainly limiting the amount of time you spend on there with certain people who do like to kind of big that up. It's great that they get to share these things on there, but if you know that your next 6 or 7 weeks are going to look and feel very different, probably leaning away from that is a good thing to do, perhaps until the autumn term.
And you've mentioned before about having this Hallmark movie
Mhm.
um, ideal way of looking at things. And let's be
Mhm.
honest, that's not really where we're coming from with our children. And the high level of intensity that we express. I love my children. I love spending time. We can have some beautiful moments together, but there is always an underlying tone of intensity because they're not completely securely attached to me. They
Yeah.
have got trauma. They aren't fully trusting in the fact that I'm going to be there and everything's going to be okay and we're going to keep them safe and there's still going to be food on the table. I know that that's going to happen, but my kids don't know that. So they need
Mm.
more and more from me all the time to just make sure that that happens, and that's where that extra level of fatigue can just creep in really, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that leads us, Mandy, really nicely into our first point, doesn't it? In terms of needing you and needing you to kind of, I guess, be the person that is replicating the consistency and the predictability. Or not, may replicating is probably the wrong word, to be fair, because you already do that. All of our listeners and our followers already do that. But you're replacing, I guess, what's been there with school. You know, with school, there's a really clear routine. We know exactly what the day looks like. Even if it's been a little bit different the last couple of weeks of term, we recognise that that happens. But how we manage to replicate that, but also lean into the fact that it is the holidays. Mandy, what does that look like for you? How does tip number one of this kind of light touch routine, creating that predictability, how's that look for you in the past? And what are you planning for the next 7 weeks?
Don't keep saying it to me, Laura. Um, so for anybody who knows me, I like to be organized. I
Yeah.
like to make sure my ducks are in a row
Mm-hmm.
because it takes the pressure off me. So I've already created a wall plan of the 7 weeks that the children are going to be with me, and I'm already putting different things in that we are doing. So we are going to go and have a family breakaway. That is on the planner already. Different activities that we've got going on, um, day trips and those kind of things, I'm already starting to slot those in. So the children, because my children are 12, they are old enough and they are more than capable of reading what is on this planner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they will already have that idea of what's happening, when it's happening, and how that might look. When you've got younger children, I appreciate, if you've got 4 or 5-year-olds and they can't read yet, this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
However, I still think having that wall planner is good because I use it as much as my children use it. I
Yeah.
can get
Yeah.
a little bit frustrated and forgetful. I am at that age in my life. Um, so having that visual reminder of it's okay, I've got things planned and booked in is
Mm-hmm.
actually giving me a little bit of reassurance as well. What I'm also going to do is meal times are going to kind of stay the same.
Mm. That's so important, isn't it, for our children to know that breakfast is still coming, lunch is still coming, snacks are still coming, and so on and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So putting that planning in place for, um, I'm not expecting my children to wake up as early as they do on a school day,
Mm,
but
mm,
there's going to be a sort of time where I'm expecting them to get up, and then we'll have breakfast, and lunch
yeah,
will be at this time, and
yeah.
evening meal will still be the same time as it is every day in my household.
Mhm, mhm.
So even with the bigger activities that may be going on, we've still got that consistent routine that we're following through.
Nice.
Bedtimes will probably be around the same time,
Mhm.
but there'll be a little bit of flexibility. What I will also do is I will say, because it's the holidays, you
Yeah,
can stay up for an extra half an hour. But
yeah,
when we go back to school, we'll
yeah,
go back to school routine so that my children have also got it in their head. It's the holidays, so this is our holiday routine.
yeah,
And
yeah.
when we go back to school, we'll have our school routine.
So that routine doesn't change as such. It's just a bit more flexible over that period. And I think it's really important children recognise we've not lost our routine and our predictability. It's just shifting for a period of time.
Yeah.
And then I know it's coming back. And that coincides with me returning to school. That's so important, isn't it, for children to know it's not gone because of the
Yeah.
amount of loss that they've had. Yeah.
Yeah. And trying to make each day predictable. So, as you
Uh-huh.
know, Laura, I do a little speech every morning to my children. Good
You do.
morning. I
You
did it
do.
this morning. Good morning. Welcome to Monday. The sun is shining. It's going to be a hot day. Remember to put your sunblock on. You can take a cat to school. I'm going to do exactly the same thing in the holidays as well. So, I will sit and have breakfast with my children and I will say, Good morning. It's a similar day because let's be honest, they all merge into one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but I will still give them an outline of what is gonna happen each day, so
Uh-huh.
I can reinforce that predictability. And
Yeah.
because I do it every day anyway, they will be expecting that from me.
Definitely, definitely. And that's such a brilliant segue into top tip number 2, isn't it? Because there is something about, that routine, that predictability helps children to understand the expectations of the day, what's expected of them, what they can expect of you, just generally how things are going to look and feel for the next 7 weeks. And I think, but one of the things that we've talked about, you and I have talked about together and in our individual work is certain times of the year have this big sensory overload where things like Christmas,
Yep.
Christmas supermarkets at Christmas for me as an adult without anything diagnosed or whatever is a massive sensory overload. But it's not just those kind of 6 weeks where Mariah Carey has broken free and is singing at all of us consistently. We get it in the summer holidays, don't we? It's hot. So immediately everything feels different.
Yep.
Our body feels different, our skin feels different, our hair is sweatier, we're drinking more, so then we need to go to the toilet more. There's a big sensory thing. Sun cream, you just mentioned sunblock, even that feels different on our skin. We might be a little bit more tired if we have had a few later nights, and then we're a bit more irritable. So there is a big sensory thing with that. And then going out and about and doing days out, we've got different sounds, different people, different waiting times. Sometimes we might be eating
Yep.
slightly different food, even if we've packed a predictable picnic, those kind of things. The transitions around, you mentioned days out, Mandie. Again, the transition, the car journey can be full of anxiety. So there is something about, yes, we absolutely want this predictability for children, but it's about pitching it just right, isn't it? And top tip number 2 is about managing, the expectations alongside how stimulating some of this stuff is. So low stimuli things for the majority of the time, but
Mm.
still keeping our expectations about what children expect from us and what we expect from them.
Yeah, and like going for days out, everywhere we're gonna go is gonna be busy. Even, for
Yeah.
me, the
Yeah.
beach isn't that far away, so doing a day out to the beach, really not much of a big problem.
Mm.
However, if it's a nice day and I wanna go to the beach, thousands of other people are also got the same idea, so it's gonna
Yes.
be way busier. That stimulus of having
Uh-huh.
extra noise, extra people, the hustle and bustle, going for a
Yeah.
day out somewhere, you're gonna have more people there because
Mm-hmm.
it's the summer holidays.
Mm-hmm.
So be prepared. I'm not saying you shouldn't take your children out for the day.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
should, but be prepared. If you have a child who is quite sensory and they will get overwhelmed quite easily with crowds, make sure you identify a quiet zone that you can go to,
Mm-hmm.
and organize your day, reducing those expectations. So, um, when little Johnny does have a little wobble, you're prepared for it. A
Yeah.
magical day
Yeah.
out can still be magical, but doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm. And I think there's something about, when we've got the holidays, whether you're a working parent or you have the flexibility of time to be off with the children. A day out is lovely, but we don't have to fill the calendar with that, do we? So again, when we think about low stimuli things, but still having consistent expectations, the simple things are sometimes the best, isn't it? A walk to the park, a paddle in the stream if you've got one nearby, an arts and crafts afternoon,
Yep.
chilling with a movie,
Yep.
drawing the curtains, making it nice and cool and dark. Again, to manage perhaps some of the sensory stuff going on. Even just simply curling up with a book for half an hour
Yep.
and a nice cold drink. Those kind of things. Water play in the garden, whatever it might be. Lego.
Yep.
Just a morning with the Lego. We can keep these things very simple, but still fun to be able to fill that time. It doesn't have to be all singing, all dancing, and of course costing the earth.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. Just so tip number 3, Mandy, is just thinking about we've talked about being able to be predictable, be consistent, manage our expectations. But of course, there will be times when our children still wobble. We're not saying these are magic wands. We're saying we can hopefully reduce the intensity and maybe the frequency of our children being a little bit wobbly, a little bit spicy, maybe during this. Well, there's another heat wave due, isn't there, even before the end of term, but certainly over the next 7 weeks or so, is just thinking about how we manage that in the moment. And our tip number 3 is all about connection and not compliance, isn't it? How does
Yeah.
that work in your house?
Being emotionally available and being there to be able to connect emotionally with my children can sometimes um, be enough to de-escalate that wobble, letting them know that they're um, struggling, that I can see they're struggling, and that it's okay to struggle,
Mm,
but I'm still with them. And how
yeah.
are we going to get through this together? When you are thinking about doing your activities, again, I know it can be a little bit of uh, a hallmark, a point of
Mhm.
view, but trying to create those times where you can have that more quiet time,
Yeah.
sitting at the table, doing an activity together. Um, I previously in summer holidays, I've set up challenges for my
Mm,
children. So if we were having a day out somewhere, I would do some challenges, set them some challenges through the week around that day. We went to a tank museum last year, and so I kind of had in my head a little challenge to do every day, and
mm,
then it could all be connected to going to the tank museum. So they made a tank out of Lego and they drew a tank and they found out 5 top facts about tanks. It sounds really boring, but it was, bless you, it was a really good way of being able to engage with my children and having ownership over how much I engage with them. So I'm not sat at
mm.
the table, they're doing their thing and they're just going, Mandy, 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 look at me. I've just coloured this red spot. Mandy, look at me. I've just coloured another red spot, because that is really irritating and draining
Yeah.
and frustrating for me as a parent when you're like,
Mhm.
I don't really want to
Mhm.
watch this. I've got washing and hoovering and things I need to do. So if you can set things up, and this is where I
Mm.
think as therapeutic parents, we have to put that little bit more pre-planning in place
Yeah, definitely.
so that we can allow these times of connectivity to happen.
Mhm. Mhm.
Am I
So
making sense?
yeah, absolutely. And I think, we're recording this, I think, on the 6th. Is it going out in 2 days, Mandy? Remind me,
Yeah.
I've lost sense of the calendar. Brilliant. So it's coming out on the 8th. So hopefully this will give our listeners time to think about, is there anything I need to get or to prepare before the end of term? If we're thinking about Lego challenges, do I need to grab some more Lego? Do I need to organize it? Do I need to buy a Lego ideas book? Because there's lots of those things out there. Do I need to top up the paints? How are
Yeah.
we running low? These kind of things. Would it be handy to get some more colouring books, or maybe pop to the charity shop and grab some more puzzles? Or, do I need a pump for the football if we're going to the park every day? Anything like that. This is your time to really think about that timetable that we've talked about, how we're keeping things kind of low stimuli, but even the low stimuli things will need some bit of preparation, won't they? So yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah. And you're
yeah,
right. This is the golden time to get everything organized and sorted
yeah,
out.
yeah.
Um, what we have also discussed is, and this is an idea I've had, and I've shared with some of the parents that I support, is having a summer holidays box,
Mhm.
activity box. So when you are at that point, you may have taken the dog for a walk, they've had a play in the pool, you've done the snacks, the drinks, you've got the meals all sorted out, you've done everything, but you just feel as if they're suffocating you a little bit and needing
Mm,
you an awful lot. Have a summer holidays activity box and put not loads in there, but just put 5 or 6 things in there. It could be a colouring book, it could be stickers, it could be etch arts, it could be some little diamond art things that they can
Mhm.
maybe complete over the holidays, word searches,
Yeah.
maybe a little secondhand little book that they might be interested in, a little pack of Lego or a cheaper alternative, because I know Lego's
Mhm.
expensive,
Mhm.
or something like that, and make a little box out of it. And then you can say to your children, "You've got 30 minutes of free time." And they go, "I don't know what to do." And you go, "Well, have a look
Mhm.
at your box. Let's get something out of your box. Why don't you do that for a little while?" And then as a parent, I'm not suddenly in a position where I've got to go, "Oh my God, they need me and they want an activity and I
Yeah.
don't know what
Yeah.
they're gonna do." It's already prepared and it's
Yeah.
already planned, and they can take ownership over what they're doing, but you've taken ownership over how that time can be spent. And so
Love that.
hopefully that means things will go a lot smoother and calmer for everybody.
Mm. One of my favourites, I think, that I always had stashed in the cupboard for the holidays was a packet of like plain biscuits, like a rich tea or a digestive. Other biscuits are, of course, available. And those little icing tubes. Do you know what
Yes.
I mean? That you sometimes get them in like gingerbread men packs and stuff like that. But having fresh gingerbread men in isn't always possible. But you can usually grab a pack of biscuits and they'll last. But just saying, "Oh, are you bored? Do you need a snack? Let's get you a milk," and you can decorate a biscuit.
Yep.
And we'd have just a little bag of sprinkles, just a little tub, a little sort of old Chinese tub or something in the cupboard with the biscuits, with little tubes of icing. And it might be then when I was making a cup of tea, because of course I don't want icing all over my kitchen table or all the walls or the floor or down their face. These tubes need to last 6 or 7 weeks, don't they? But it would be, why don't you decorate a biscuit? And then we've got a little bit of the higher brain thinking. We've got a little bit of focus for a couple of minutes. And of course, we've got instant gratification to be able to shovel that biscuit in alongside their milk or their juice, and
Yeah.
maybe a colder snack, maybe balance it out with some fruit or something. So yeah, you might have your summer holiday box, but you might also have a little stash because of course we don't want biscuits in there that are probably going to be eaten in one round either.
I love that
Mandy,
idea.
you mentioned boredom there about them saying that they're bored, and I think we need to
Yeah.
recognise, yeah, oh, I'm so bored. I wish I had the time to be bored, children, but there we go. But you mentioned boredom and just recognising that for parents, that is a really difficult thing to hear when you have done so much planning, when you have your charts ready, your planners, when you've thought about, more bigger, intense activities, as well as the more low key, low stimuli things. To hear that as a parent who will undoubtedly have worked their backsides off to prepare and be engaging children, whether you're working or not, is soul destroying. Let's be honest. I'm not dramatizing that. It is a horrible, horrible, horrible feeling. And I just wanted to pick that apart a little bit in terms of our children being dysregulated. Saying they're bored and wanting your time and attention by stating boredom can be a sign of dysregulation. It's not about children breaking things, shouting, screaming, swearing, being aggressive, although we recognize all of that as representations of being dysregulated.
Mm.
Sometimes the boredom, being clingy, being a bit withdrawn is all a part of that as well, as they're
Yeah.
kind of working through the loss of the normal routine that they've had. So I guess it's just a bit of a reflective point of, yes, I can feel absolutely horrible that I've done all this work for my children, and to have these boxes and to have these biscuits in and to do, planned all these days out. And yet the boredom bit is the bit that annoys me the most some days, but just remembering the boredom is a way of connecting. And as we said with point number 3, this is all about connection and not compliance and not necessarily correction straight away. So I think it's worth, as parents, us holding on to that. It's not that we've done anything wrong or we've misjudged it. It is a way of our children connecting at that point.
And if I could just add to that point,
Mm,
I think it's a little bit like, I feel really sad. Well, do you feel sad or
mm,
are you frustrated, or do you feel lonely? All of
Mm.
these emotions that our children feel aren't necessarily what they say they are. So when they
Yeah.
say they're bored, and my children tend to do that after I've just spent all day taking them on this beautiful,
Yes.
magical day out, and then we've come home and I'm like, excellent, I could just sit down, have a cup of tea and recharge my battery for 10
Mhm.
minutes. And I say to the kids, find something to do. And they go, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm bored. And
Mm.
it's not, I can't
Mm.
find something to do. I'm bored. It's actually, I feel so overwhelmed. I
Yeah.
can't make a decision.
Yes.
So in those
Definitely.
times, I think it was, where possible, just say, well, I'm just going to sit down for a minute and just read, because we've had a really busy day. I'm just going
Mm.
to sit down for a minute and I'm going to recharge my batteries. Do you want to come and sit with me? Should we have a drink together? Again, you're opening yourself up ready for that connectivity. If they then turn around and go, "No, I don't wanna do that," let them go. We can't fix the boredom. It's
Yeah.
not our place, and actually
Yeah.
feeling a little bit bored is good for all of us because it
Mm.
helps us to learn how to become self-motivating.
Yeah.
For children who have experienced trauma or are neurodiverse, obviously that's slightly different, but be there just in case. Come and just join me. I'm just going to sit quietly for a minute. You can sit with me if you want to. You don't need to entertain them. You don't need to give them loads of solutions. You can just sit, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. And I think that again, I don't know how we are segueing so well into our points today, Mandy. We're obviously just nailing this whole podcast malarkey,
On a
aren't we?
roll.
Hopefully our listeners are agreeing. But it brings us into point number 4, where yes, we can plan. Yes, we can balance the bigger days with the more low key points. Yes, we can find that connection bit and be really reflective about what it is our children are trying to tell us. But there will be pressure points. There will absolutely be pressure points. And I'm sure as people are listening already to our points, they're thinking, but what about the bits I know are going to be hard? What about those? And this is absolutely the time before the children break for the holidays to really think about, where are my most difficult bits most likely to be? And it
Mhm,
isn't about having a crystal ball. It's about using your knowledge of your child, knowing their history, knowing where they've been triggered before, knowing where you yourself as an adult and as the parent are likely to have reached boiling point. Excuse
mhm,
the pun, in the heat wave, but absolutely reached that boiling point, and really thinking about, what do I know about my child that I know in my head now I can prepare for a more trickier time. So preempting the pressure is tip number 4, isn't it? Mandy, where are your pressure points, or where have you had pressure points in the past where you're like, I know the next half a day or the next hour is really going to test me and my children?
like I've already said, following a nice day out, I usually get a little bit of self-sabotage going on
Yep.
because my children don't always feel that they deserve having those nice days out. So they're going to remind me of how unworthy they are by really stepping up the game and reminding me of all the things that they do wrong. Um, it can be after contacts, that's a big
Yeah.
thing in my family
After
because of
family
my
time. Yeah.
situation. That family time, that interaction, um, and sometimes it can also be, when they've had high stimulus day, like they've gone out with their friends or their friends have come around the house and then they've gone, and then it's gone from this real fun hustle and bustle, loud, noisy, really exciting, and then it's gone to being quite quiet. They can't cope with that transition, so they'll do something to keep that spike of energy going, even if it's negative energy.
Uh-huh.
And let's be honest, after a day out, after they've had people around the house, I'm tired by that point. So I'm not working at full capacity to be able to always recognize the signs or have the energy levels at that time of day to be able to respond appropriately all the time.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That's okay as well because I'm human,
Uh-huh.
and I get tired as well. But where possible, um, with all of the things we've already spoken about, we can put in those strategies for making sure, um, they know what's gonna happen through the day, that they know what the plan of the day is, what the timings of the day is, how things are going to look. If we're going for a day out, I show them pictures before we go. They're involved in that decision-making process. They're
Mm,
involved with all of that.
mhm.
So that helps them take a little bit of ownership, and that can help to dilute things.
Yeah.
What I would also be saying to parents is, now is the time for you to make a plan.
Mhm.
When things are calm and you're not under so much pressure, now is the time to make a plan. So if things happen, this is how we're going to respond to it, and share
Yeah.
that plan with anybody that's in the house.
Great. So we're really being proactive to some dysregulation, to a pressure point, rather than having to be reactive. And of course, we do react, don't we? But if we know it's coming, we're more likely to be able to tap into kind of our therapeutic thinking, our paceful approach. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I know our listeners may be going, for God's sake, they keep giving me more and more work to do. But honestly, it can be, it doesn't have to be hours and hours worth of work.
Yeah.
It can be little things that you do now, but the time you're going to save yourself and the energy you're going to save yourself
Mm,
in 4 weeks' time when you're right
mhm.
in the thick of it,
Mhm.
that's when you're going to be like, "Oh, actually, yeah, they were right. I'm really glad I did this."
Yeah. Yeah. Which, as we have done all of today, leads us so beautifully into point number 5. I love how we've structured today, because we've talked so far all about the children, understandably, and as we should. But what about us? What about the adults? What about the parents? Because as we said right at the start, before we even started diving into the top 5, this is a long time for us as adult human beings. 7 weeks, 49 days, probably a little bit more with inset days and all of that jazz. And if they're breaking up slightly earlier next week,
Mhm.
she says, touching wood, that's not happening in my house because I haven't actually checked as yet. It's just not the organised parent this term. Um, it's a long holiday, as we know, but our nerves and our own abilities are likely to only stretch so far. So there is something in here as point number 5 about protecting our own regulation and working out how we stay as regulated as possible and making that an absolute non-negotiable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that might sound again to some of our listeners a bit counterproductive because you've just said, hang on, you've just said you need to be organized with your planners. You need to be, really thinking about the pressure points. You need to be thinking about how you're going to connect and preempt and be proactive. Absolutely, yes. But that doesn't mean that you get ignored as an adult in the process, because if you are dysregulated, if you are, again, loving the puns this morning, a hot mess at boiling point, and your own therapeutic thinking, your own higher brain is not in play, if you're running on your survival brain, the likelihood of you being able to make the progress and be that consistent adult over the summer is already looking a bit wobbly. It's
Yeah.
looking like your chances are reduced. So planning in your own little breaks, micro breaks, a day here and there, and absolutely blocking out some time in early September for you to completely have some R&R is so important. So
Yeah.
important for you guys. Mandy, what does a micro break look like for you in the school holidays?
Um, that could be my children sitting at the table doing some arts and crafts. They do like arts and crafts in my house.
Perfect.
And I can just sit on the sofa and have a cheeky 10-minute doom scroll time on my phone whilst having a cup
Mm-hmm.
of tea.
Nice.
Um, walking the dog, especially
Mm,
when it's hot, I have to
yeah.
go out earlier in the morning.
Early.
So
Yeah.
I will arrange it. So obviously my husband works from home, so he might be here working from home, and that gives me the opportunity of taking the dog out early. That means I get my exercise, I'm
Yeah.
getting the fresh air, I'm getting my brain breaks.
So you're balanced even before the children are awake and eating.
Yeah,
Some days, if you're going that early in the heat, right, then you've got that bit in. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then I can come back in, I can listen to a podcast, not necessarily hours. And I can come back
I
in.
don't know.
Well, sometimes, but I can come back in and I can be ready for the day because I've looked after
Mm,
my own needs.
mm,
It could be in the evening, setting them up, watching a film, and I can go and have a nice bubble bath.
mm-hmm.
rather than a shower, because then with the bubble bath, I can just sit and relax in there for
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Or if you're not a bath person, just organize it so you can have 10, 15 minutes in your own bedroom, in your
Mhm.
safe space, doing
Mhm.
something that you want to do. Don't pick up a really heavy book to read. Don't start reading Dostoevsky. Just read something
Yeah.
light-hearted that you can dip in and
A
out
bit of
of.
trash. Bit of summer
Yeah,
trash. Yeah,
yeah,
charity shop, one
yeah,
pound 50. Bit of summer trash.
that's right.
Absolutely. That's my holiday sun lounger go-to is some girly trash.
When the kids are playing in the pool, I will sit outside with them, but actually I'm reading my book, so
Mhm.
I'm still being, very
Yeah.
good parent, making sure everything's safe, but I'm doing something to fill my own cup as well. And
Yeah.
it's about having those little chinks of
Mhm.
time where you can just go, actually, I hate to say it, but it's all quiet. I'm
Yeah.
going to do
Don't use
something
that
I
Q
want
word.
to do.
Don't you use that Q word. That's like swearing on this podcast.
Take
Yeah.
advantage of
But yeah.
those moments.
Mhm.
If you have a more intense child, you have to be a little bit more proactive. So if
Yeah.
you do an exercise class once a week, keep doing that through the holidays.
Mhm. Mhm.
Keep that routine in place for you as well as the children.
Yeah.
Have an evening, if you can, where somebody else, your partner, a friend, can come and sit with the children just so you can get out of the house for a couple of
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Um, I know we're talking ideal for single carers out there who don't have that level of support. That's really, really difficult. But
Yeah.
I think that's when you have to be even more proactive of when
Yeah.
the children are in bed, I'm going to have me time. I'm going to
Yeah.
watch that trashy TV program,
Yeah.
Love is
Yeah.
Blind, whatever it is. It
Mm,
You've got to find something that is going to work for you. And I absolutely adore your point of booking something in now for the
yes.
second week of September
Yeah.
so that you've got something that you're working towards and there's gonna be a reward in it for you at the end. I
Yeah.
just love that idea.
Yeah. And I get it. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be fancy. The likelihood is you're squeezing that into a school day, right? Your likelihood is you've got about 6 hours. And the second week of September, let's get the first week out the way. Let's get everyone back into routine, managing any going back to school wobbles, and yeah, make sure it's in. Again, make it a non-negotiable as far as possible. But you will know what your ideal day looks like. If you're a spa person, get into the spa. If you are, I need to get my hair and nails done, get those appointments in the diary now, because the likelihood is lots of other parents are going to be taking up your slots. If you are, I don't know, if you are a gym bunny, let's get you into some classes. Let's schedule those as soon as your app or your gym allows you to.
Mm,
Book a PT session if you need a revamp after all your summer ice creams that you're probably going to be having in a few stressful moments.
mm,
Those kind of things. If you haven't seen your best friend for ages because your timetables are so different over the summer, tell them to take a day off with you. Go for a nice lunch. Go and do some shopping, whatever it might be. Or if you just need a day on your own on your sofa with a pack of chocolate biscuits,
oof,
schedule that. Say you put a do not disturb sign on the door, unplug the doorbell, take your Ring doorbell off of your phone for the day, put everything on mute. You've probably got some TV you've missed over the summer. Get your snacks, lie on the sofa, set an alarm for 10 to 3.
yeah, yeah,
That's what we need to be doing. Yeah. And if you need to
absolutely.
sleep, sleep,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
have that day, have that time planned.
yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's about being proactive rather than
Mhm.
reactive.
Mhm.
Um, don't get to the point where this is what I do. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Okay, I'm really not fine. And now I need time, but I just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm so not fine. I can't think of what it is that I'm
Mhm.
going to do to try and make myself feel better. So I am learning. It's taken a long time, but I'm learning to do that proactive bit about booking things in and about being aware actually of what does fill my cup.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
I think
I
we
think we've
nailed that.
nailed all 5 top tips for the summer, Mandy, haven't we? As always, for our listeners, if you have any comments, any questions, please do reach out to us on social media or drop us an email. It's rootsresilience@outlook.com. Please enjoy the prep time. that you've got. We are wishing you all the very, 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 very best for the 7 weeks of the holidays. And hopefully, listening to us, we're still going to keep the podcast going over the summer. Hopefully, listening to us will be a part of your special time that you have for yourself as well. But otherwise, it's goodbye from us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Enjoy the summer holidays.